Well, on the Busy Gardener channel, we recently celebrated a very important birthday, and that is my mom's birthday. Got her a Birdies raised bed. And in this video, I'm going to walk through the assembly of that. I'm going to walk through how to fill your garden bed using less garden soil than you would otherwise need. Some of the pros of going with a raised bed garden, as well as why a taller raised bed works great for somebody who doesn't want to be on the ground on their knees the entire time. Let's get busy. Well, I am excited to build this raised bed for my mom. I was really glad to get it for her, surprise her for her birthday with it. Birdies raised bed is made in Australia, super high quality, kind of the top tier. Actually, I've got a link for it in the description below, I think with a discount code as well, so be sure to check it out. But the nice thing about a raised bed for somebody who has either mobility issues or somebody who's tall like me, because being tall is in most cases a benefit, but it's bad when you're doing the limbo and bad when you're needing to be on the ground gardening. So having something that's higher up is just more comfortable. So you're able to do everything that you're doing in your garden without having to be down on the ground. And so I'm going to begin building this thing, opening this up, and I can't wait to get it assembled. Okay, well, Mom, we recently celebrated your 70th birthday, and you're doing fantastic. You know, guys, my mom is like a wonderful example of what happens when you take care of yourself and remain active, and you're gonna be running circles, continue to run circles around us for decades to come, I think. One of the things you were talking about wanting to do was put a raised bed garden, but you didn't want to be down on the ground in like the short raised bed with its, 6 inches above the ground. You wanted something that was a bit taller.
Yes, so I don't have to bend over, go on my knees, have it at my level.
Yeah.
And come out and pick up the herbs, especially, that will go into my cooking.
Yeah, so we're talking about putting like a little herb garden over here that it's really manageable. It's gonna be right close to your house. And there are a lot more options available today than there were as far as a raised bed garden goes. Using these like Birdies raised bed gardens with the made out of metal, you can get them a lot taller than you could with wood. It also doesn't degrade the same way. So we think that this is gonna work for you for a long time. What are you most excited to grow in your raised bed garden?
Mostly herbs like parsley, daleweed, cilantro, maybe some radishes, maybe some mint, basil, any type of herbs, definitely. And if I could squeeze in a few vegetables, that'd be fine too.
Yeah, it's nice having a nice deep garden bed. You're going to be able to do stuff that sometimes needs that extra length, like carrots or even potatoes and things like that could work well.
Parsnips, I would like to grow. Parsnips, maybe some beets, and some carrots.
You got a ton of options. Now,
some green onions.
the main reason that you're not planting somewhere else in your yard is because you've got a really kind of low maintenance yard where all of this is artificial turf down here. You've got rocks in the other areas because you want to lower the amount of maintenance and the amount of water that's required. But that does kind of limit your options as far as where you can plant. And so doing a raised bed is going to be really helpful. All right, well, I'm going to build this thing for you and then you can come and inspect the final product.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, when they call this one a 6-in-1 raised bed, it's because you can configure this into 6 different configurations. And so depending on the size that you've got to work with and what you want that bed to look like, you can assemble this into a variety of different shapes and sizes. It also comes with this safety strip that's going to go on the edges of this. And so that way you don't cut or slice yourself on the metal. And it comes with a bag of screws and washers. Although even though it has that plastic strip that's going to go over the top, this already has kind of a folded over edge. And so there's really no chance, it doesn't seem like, of getting cut. But I suppose the corners could get you if you weren't careful.
1 hour later.
So this is going to be our eventual garden bed height, which is so convenient to be able to just immediately work on stuff.
Hey you! Yeah, I'm talking to you. Are you a man? Are you a man's man? Wait, are we just using the same joke over and over again? What are we, the late night show with Jimmy Fallon? Whatever. Are you the type of man who'll rough outdoor living, but also sensitive enough to build his mama a Birdies raised bed so she doesn't have to bend down to the ground and hurt her knees? Then I'm talking to you, the real man's man. Get the best of the best of the best with authentic Birdies raised beds. Affiliate link in the description below.
Wow. A lot of screws, a lot of bolts. I got all the panels plugged in here, and so you see the general shape of this, and it's come together. Now, my mom off the side of her patio here has an area with just some rocks that are really not being used at all, and a little bit of patio area, and so we're gonna move this over there. It's gonna get a little bit of shade as well, which is gonna be good. In San Diego, the sun can be a little bit intense at times. Once we get this placed, then I'm gonna show you exactly how we intend to fill this. As you can see, this garden bed takes up a lot of volume, and we're really only gonna be planting in the first foot or foot and a half of that. And so rather than spending $10 per bag of garden soil and filling the entire thing, what we're gonna do is this concept called Hugelkultur. And what that is putting either organic material or stones or something to fill up the bottom of this space, getting increasingly smaller and smaller so that it turns into kind of its own compost pile in some ways at the bottom, and then putting in just that fine, good garden soil at the very top layer that we're gonna be planting in. So for this, it turns out that my mom has a bunch of extra wood. She's got a bunch of extra rocks and some blocks and things. And so what we're wanting to do is go from inorganic to bulky organic, getting smaller as we get near the top. So that way only the top, maybe half of this thing or third of this thing is filled with the garden soil. That's gonna cut down on the costs a whole lot. She had a bunch of scrap, and we're gonna be able to throw that in there. Let me talk for a second about what kind of soil to use in a raised bed like this. It's going to depend largely on what you're growing. If you're growing things like vegetables and other annuals that you're planting and replanting, feel free to use the bagged soil that you find in your garden center. Some sort of raised bed or potting soil is fine to use in this sort of thing because you're going to be replenishing it. Something that has nutrients in it, as well as the ability to retain some moisture, but also is well draining because you don't want this to be bogged down. Those are all characteristics of a good raised bed container soil. If you're wanting to do something that's more of a tree or some sort of other permanent plant, you want a more permanent soil, something that's actually made up of sand or loam or perlite. And you want your container to be mostly made of that, maybe 70% some sort of permanent material, maybe 30% some sort of organic material that you'll then eventually come back and top dress. So if you wanted to put a couple of citrus in here, a couple of little dwarf citrus, you might build this modular thing to be a little bit more wide, and you would use a more permanent type of soil in here.
Are you a mama's boy? Wait, no. Are you the kind of man who can lift 35 pounds of highly crafted metal, as well as heavy logs and wood of various sizes? Are you the kind of man that fills that bed with organic materials that's not only good for the environment, but also beneficial to urban gardening as well? If you're that type of man, then you need Birdies raised beds, wonderfully handcrafted in the beautiful continent of Australia. Feel the link in the description below. Bye now.
Okay, this thing is like 2/3 full of sticks and logs and all sorts of wood material, and we're going to start dumping in some of the raised bed mix. There are a lot of gaps in here, and that's why it's nice if you've got some smaller branches and stuff that's leafy material that you throw on top of the initial thing of logs, so that way it's going to help to fill that space in a little bit. So this soil is going to filter its way down, and we're going to probably have to come and replenish it. So when we pour it, we're going to pour it in a bit of a mound, but this is ready to be filled.
Are you serious? We're going a third time? Well, guess I need the money. Are you a man's man?
Huh? No. Okay, Mom, here you go. What do you think?
Beautiful. Right height, full of dirt, ready to plant.
And you see how sturdy this metal is?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
And if you feel this on the top, this is going to keep you from getting poked on any of the differences there. So because we filled this up with all of those logs, we only use 6 bags of the gardening soil.
Nice.
So we're going to leave another one. This is probably going to settle some as you're digging in it and as the rain is coming down. So maybe leave a bag here, and that way you can come back and amend it, fill up the top of it. And so now really the only question is, are you going to buy started plants? Are you going to start plants? Or are you going to plant from seed? But that's a thing for another video.
Yes.
Appreciate you tuning into this episode of the Busy Gardener channel, where we built my mom's raised bed garden. I'm going to put a link to this bed in the bio. You can check it out, some other Birdies beds. They're wonderful. Happy birthday, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you, Cameron.
And whether you've got one thing to plant in your raised bed garden or 500, until next time, stay busy.